It makes it even more important that we're here training to ensure the defense of Republic of Korea, and our commitment to that is ironclad to this point, and we'll continue to train to build that cooperative effort to defend the Republic of Korea. It does not matter where that threat is coming from. We are ensuring that we are able to amass forces to maintain maritime and air superiority and defend Northeast Asia or all of Indo-Pacific region.
Walang North Korea po ay nag-develop ng mga kanyang nuclear weapons over the past decades or so, no? Especially after nag-fail yung earlier attempts na mag-create ng different regimes, no, to prevent North Korea from developing nuclear weapons. Alam natin kasi ang problema sa North Korea is even if technically tapos na yung Korean War, yung 1950 to 1953 Korean War, wala pang na-sign na final peace agreement. So parang temporary ceasefire nangyari. So technically speaking, ang North Korea po is still in some sort of state of war with South Korea, which is an ally of the United States. So even if nasa third generation na tayo ng Kim dynasty, no? So ngayon Kim Jong Un naman, and even yung kanyang anak na daughter, no, is now very much on the forefront, very much part of the state propaganda. It looks like Kim Jong Un is preparing already the world and his country for potential transition of power down the road because of concerns over his health, among others. So despite all of those things, North Korea constantly has felt threatened. In particular, the Kim dynasty, which is in control of North Korea, has felt that the only way to make sure that they stay in power is to have nuclear weapons. There were multiple attempts to convince North Korea to give it up, including under Kim Jong-ae, the father of the current supreme leader of North Korea. But the thing is, North Korea never felt safe enough to fully give it up, right? At the same time, ang argument naman ng kabila ng US and all is that North Korea was never trustworthy enough. They will always try to cheat. Essentially, to have the nuclear weapons or some capability to develop nuclear weapons, and at the same time also get the economic incentives, because under the previous administrations, during Clinton administration and the older South Korean administration, there were efforts in so-called sunshine policy to give food, economic investments, even give some sort of strategic reassurance na huwag kayong mag-alala, hindi na kailangan gumawa ng nuclear weapons. Pag give up niyan, tutulungan namin kayo, bigyan namin kayo ng pagkain. Kasi very poor country ang North Korea, na bigyan namin kayo ng mga investments dun sa Kaesong economic complex. But always there was a problem kasi the distrust level is so deep. North Korea could never fully trust the other side. Ang takot nila is once they fully give up their nuclear weapons, aatakein na sila. It's a matter of time. Yung kabila naman, they never also trusted North Korea because they feel North Korea, because it's a tyrannical system, because it doesn't want to open up to the world, because that means it could undermine the rule of the Kim dynasty. They would also never give up their nuclear weapons. And of course, not to mention, the thing is, ang North Korea is ang authoritarian system, habang yung South Korea and US ay democratic system. So ibig sabihin, paiba-iba yung administration. But on the part of North Korea, they couldn't also trust their Western or South Korean counterparts because feeling nila, kung iba na yung administration, from Republican to Democratic, from leftist to right-wing, sa South Korea for instance, maybe the deal will fall apart. Now, things kind of changed nung 2007, 8, and 19 because Donald Trump, feeling niya, kaya niya gumawa ng isang grand bargain, basta kailangan niya i-meet si Kim Jong Un, akala niya pwede niya ayusin yan. So there was a meeting in Singapore, there was a meeting also in Hanoi. But the meetings did not produce anything because North Korea was not willing to really give up anything, right? And Donald Trump also didn't want to give any economic incentives to North Korea if there's no assurance that he can get something back. Let's not mention, 2008, 19, 20, ang president ng South Korea is si President Moon, who was also very much for peace with North Korea. He met Kim Jong Un. He crossed, di ba, may pictures kayong makikita online na momentarily they crossed their borders dun sa demilitarized zone, yung border ng dalawang bansa. They walked together. So, 100% personal diplomacy. Trump came in, Moon came in. In fact, there were discussions of a Nobel Peace Prize for Trump and Moon. And yet, nothing happened because that means sa sobrang paranoia ng North Korea to open up to the world, to giving up their nuclear weapons, there was constant fear in South Korea and US, and by Trump also, many people inside the Trump administration, that lolokohin lang tayo dito. They will just give up some nuclear weapons but keep others. Kasi ito yung problema if you say give up your nuclear weapons, they might just give up the ones that you know about, but they could still be having few others, tucked in under some mountain and all. Particularly since 2018, I don't think there has been any effective effort or any real indications that we can have a peace deal with North Korea, because we know if you want to have a peace deal with North Korea, you have to have a very careful, multi-year, multi-phase disarmament deal. Katulad nung na-negotiate ng P5 powers with Iran, di ba? Although Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons, but they had a nuclear program. So to make sure that things stay within a certain level, they offered to give Iran economic incentives, inspections, etc. But that was supposed to be a 20-year deal, and Trump pulled out of it. So if you're North Korea, you're not sure, the moment that you give up things in 5 to 10 years, what's going to happen in the United States? Because the United States itself betrayed the deal that Trump himself betrayed the deal that his predecessor Obama negotiated with Iran. So, and now we have again different administration. So Biden is now the leader in the U.S. and Biden doesn't want to deal personally with Kim Jong Un because of human rights concerns, because of democracy concerns, because of the fact that no major peace deal came out after all these years of reaching out to North Korea, after all these efforts by Trump. More importantly, iba na rin yung presidente sa South Korea. President Yoon is a very right-wing conservative president, and he wants stronger ties with US, even with Japan, na medyo cultural enemy ng mga lot of Koreans, because he wants to have a strong front against North Korea and even potentially China. What's even more interesting is in recent months, South Korea has openly discussed the possibility of getting its own nuclear weapons because it doesn't want to rely on the United States so that it can defend itself. Kasi kung ako may nuclear weapon at ikaw may nuclear weapon, most likely ayaw mo akong atakein kasi pwede rin kitang atakein. Di paras tayong finished dyan, di ba? Yung tinatawag na mutually assured destruction. Ang South Korea po ay walang sariling nuclear weapons, pero covered po siya ng US nuclear umbrella. Pero sa tingin ng mga South Koreans, they're not sure how reliable US will be, so they're thinking about developing their own nuclear weapons. So this is the nightmare situation we have. Now, under Trump, there were multiple efforts to reassure North Korea. So, bago natin pag-usapan itong nuclear disarmament, why not itong gagawin namin para sa'yo? So sabi ni Trump, sige, yung South Korea and US, hindi kami magkakonduct ng major military exercises malapit sa border ng North Korea or waters ng North Korea para hindi kayo matakot. Because annually, ang Korea po at US, because treaty allies sila, nagkakonduct sila ng military exercises. That was supposed to be temporarily suspended to reassure North Korea. But now, everything is back. US and South Korea are conducting massive exercises. Ang US po ay naglalagay ng mga missile defense systems sa South Korea. Ang US po ay may mga military bases sa South Korea. Thousands of troops, no? So, with all of those things in mind, so anong options mo kung North Korea ka? Ang best options mo dito is constantly mag-threaten ka. So, either conduct missile tests or conduct nuclear tests, right? By doing these tests, you're reminding the other side na pwede ko kayong disturbohin, right? Or even worse, no? I can do nasty things to you guys. So, ang basa ng mga critics dyan is North Korea is trying to extort, no? Ito yung basa ng iba na by threatening to conduct missiles tests and nuclear tests, ang sinasabi ng North Korea is that if you don't give me economic incentives, if you don't remove sanctions, I will do more and more aggressive tests. At the same time, internally, that also makes Kim Jong Un look strong because it shows that North Korea has developed a massive capability and it can defy the world. So all of this boils down to really one thing, and that one thing is called China. Ang tanong dito is anong gagawin ng China? Because if there's reason why North Korea could survive all these years is because China is still conducting trade with North Korea. In fact, based on sa reports na nakuha natin the last time I was in North Korea, up to 90% of the entire trade of North Korea is by China alone. So all of this depends on China. If China believes that North Korea is too provocative, too unstable, too unreliable, then China can pressure North Korea by completely stopping all trade, right? Or by really squeezing North Korea, not giving them any support, diplomatic support, economic support, even military support, right? So ang tinitignan natin lahat ngayon is anong gagawin ng China. Pero ang problema kasi is, dahil kalaban ng China ng US ngayon, meron silang incentive to keep North Korea there to disturb US para ma-distract ang US. Yun yung problema natin ngayon. Naglalaro yung mga major powers kasi may sarili silang agenda dito. Diba? Ang agenda ng China is, ayaw nila mag-collapse ang North Korea kasi magkakaroon ng humanitarian problem, dadagsaan ng mga tao. Ayaw rin nila ang North Korea ay babaksak at ma-absorb ng South Korea into a pro-US country. They want a North Korea that is just strong enough to threaten the West, but at the same time not too strong to also threaten China and regional security. Yun po ang dilemma natin ngayon. Kaya ang gulo talaga ng situation ngayon. That's why, sinabi natin the other week pa lang nung na-announce na magkakaroon ng major US-South Korea exercises that expect not only missile tests but also nuclear tests by North Korea as potential retribution and ways to also make its displeasure felt. Ganito kasi, in a war, matatalo talaga North Korea laban sa US. Because ang US po ay meron second strike capability. Meaning, even if nabomba ng North Korea ang US, let's say major city, US is so big and has so many weapons, it can still strike back and completely decimate North Korea, right? But the problem is, most likely in a war, Seoul will disappear. That's the fear that we have. Because ang Seoul po ay napakalapit sa North Korea. So North Korea doesn't even need nuclear weapons. All it needs are artillery shells and chemical weapons. So all South Korea can do is, before pa sumugot ng US na bumawi or something, pwede nilang completely devastate ang Seoul. So are we willing to risk Seoul? Seoul is one of the most important economic centers on earth, right? And it's like what, 60-50% of the entire Korean GDP, right? As I said, the best option we have here is step-by-step approach. And dito ko ipasok ang Pilipinas at ASEAN because ang ASEAN po ay kaibigan ng dalawang panig. Kaibigan tayo ng South Korea, kaibigan din tayo ng North Korea. Kaya kami nakapunta sa North Korea at actually very friendly ang treatment nila sa amin, taga-ASEAN. Because alam nilang ASEAN, ayaw rin natin madamay sa away ng China-US. Alam nila gusto rin natin ng independent foreign policy. Alam nila ayaw rin natin ng gulo. And in fact, on multiple occasions, ang North Korea po ay humingi ng tulong sa Pilipinas, including President Duterte, to talk to Trump and other major leaders to resolve the issue. So I think hindi tayo threatened by North Korea. It's very unlikely that ASEAN will be targeted, right? Although, of course, you can always argue in theory because may US bases tayo soon because of EDCA, etc. Baka ma-target. But I think North Korea has so many problems. Japan, South Korea, US. I don't think ASEAN is target. So we're not asking North Korea to give up entire nuclear weapons. We're also not going to remove all sanctions against North Korea, right? Which makes it very hard for North Korea to get weapons and materials and resources. So what you can do is can go yung tinatawag na step-by-step approach. So I remove, let's say, 2 out of 10 sanctions. You remove, let's say, 20% of your nuclear weapons that we know. And then unti-unti tayo, pababa ko yung sanctions, pababa mo yung nuclear weapons stockpile mo. At the same time, you can also do other things. Ibaba mo rin yung US South Korea military exercises malapit dun sa borders ng North Korea. Ang North Korea rin bababa rin niya yung missile test niya or hindi na siya mag-conduct ng nuclear weapons test. So, yun ang tinatawag na step by step. Is it feasible now? As I said, I don't think the political conditions are there. But in my opinion, that's really the only way forward I can see. Because short of that, you only have 2 options. Either total war with all the risks that come, or just wait for North Korea to collapse from inside because its economy is so poor and unstable, right? So those are your 2 other options. But the thing is this, ilang taon na ang North Korea? 70 years na. And yet, nag-survive siya. So I think relying on the hope that North Korea will collapse, that's not a very reliable strategy. It's not even a strategy. It's just a hope, right? And not very realistic.